Hello there! Yep, you heard that correctly. That was not edited together. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. This is episode 52, but it has the honor of being one of the first episodes of Star Wars in the Galaxy since, February of 2020 that we have done sitting, a few feet from each other. We are in person to record this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. It's crazy.
Very exciting, yes.
And so this week we watched, the Citadel arc, of Star Wars The Clone Wars. That is the Citadel, Counterattack, and Citadel Rescue. Are the three, from late season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. But anyway, welcome back to Star Wars in the Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And before we get into all of that, let's get into our Bad Batch review. A new episode of The Bad Batch came out this week. That episode of The Bad Batch was called Decommissioned. In Decommissioned, the Batch, along with Omega, goes on a mission to Corellia to receive the head of a tactical droid. And there they encounter, from Season 7 of The Clone Wars, Rafa and Trace Martez, and hijinks ensue, which ends with a factory on Corellia being destroyed, and the information from the tactical droid being delivered to Rafa, Trace, and a mystery informant who they're giving it to. What did you think of Decommissioned?
I liked it. I thought it was one of the best episodes so far.
I tend to agree.
I loved watching Omega kind of learning how to use the bow and becoming more proficient as the episode goes on. I loved getting to see Rafa and Trace again and see what happened to them after Order 66, pick up where we left off a little bit last year from Season 7 of The Clone Wars. We're a little scared about Wrecker. You know, he hit his head, obviously. His inhibitor chip went off. Something happened there, so I'm not too sure what's going to happen there. I'm a little anxious, but yeah, overall it was a good episode. Very exciting, lots of action. I loved it.
I saw something that in Alex Damon from Star Wars Explained's review of this episode that I thought was interesting and made me appreciate the episode a little bit more, which was about the programmed clones. Previously programmed, although with Wrecker we might still see them being programmed. The previously programmed clones fighting with the actually programmed droids. You know, we see Wrecker do the infamous good soldiers follow orders earlier in the episode, but then we hear one of the battle droids say, orders are orders.
Yeah, I like that touch too.
Which really clues you into the fact that maybe the clones and the droids aren't that different, really, after all.
Mm.
It's an eerie addition, but then again, the Martez sisters are always so great to see, in my opinion. It's really interesting to see now the two other arcs from Season 7 of The Clone Wars converge into one. I like the episode. I'm waiting with bated breath for the Rex episode because I know it's coming. Should we get into this?
Oh, let's do it. The Citadel. In this first episode, they find out that Evan Piell is being held hostage in the maximum security Separatist prison, the Citadel. So, naturally, the Jedi decide they're going to stage a big heroic rescue to get him out. There's Anakin, there's Obi-Wan, there's Cody, and Ahsoka, who Anakin doesn't want to come along, but Ahsoka ends up sneaking along anyway, because they're all carbon frozen, so she sneaks into the carbon freezing machine once Anakin is already out cold. They arrive on the planet unscathed, and they embark on this very heisty kind of quest to get inside and get Evan Piell. They lose some men along the way, but by the end of this episode, they have Evan Piell at the end of this, right? I can't remember exactly where this one was off.
Yeah, they have Evan Piell.
Yes. So they get captured, they get freed again, they have Evan Piell, and they're on their way.
Yeah. One of the most important parts of the episode that I think you might have forgotten about.
Yeah, I forgot about it, yes.
They're not just rescuing Evan Piell to be nice.
Oh, they're rescuing Tarkin.
No, they're not.
Oh, right. No, shoot, man. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's intel. Evan Piell has memorized half of the coordinates of an incredibly important hyperspace route that would be a direct secret link in between Coruscant and the Separatist homeworlds. So obviously, it is of utmost tactical importance. Utmost importance.
The only reason I'm emphasizing that so much is, as we'll see, that detail is extremely important to this entire arc and
Yes.
the moral implications of this entire arc. But let's get to our fortune cookie here, which is adaptation is the key to survival.
This is a kind of a truism of a fortune cookie. Yeah, yeah, very true.
Yeah, if you're not willing to make adjustments to your plan, the plan isn't going to work. There's that line, I don't know where I heard it. A plan is only as good as those who see it through. And like the if the people who carry out a plan don't have the acumen to adjust it when parts of it inevitably fail, then they're goners, basically. And we see throughout this arc, not just in this episode, them constantly having to adjust the plan because there are just so many unpredictable factors in this arc. Because, as they will say in the episode, they can't get scans because of how high security this prison is. So they have very old archive data that sometimes just isn't correct. Or they've updated the prison, or they've made adjustments here and there and all that kind of stuff. So they have to adjust on the fly to compensate for that lack of knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that pretty much is this episode. They just keep running into obstacle after obstacle. And in terms of obstacles, and adaptation, pretty early on, they become very glad that Ahsoka is there. At least Obi-Wan is. When Ahsoka, crawls through the air vent, to get them inside. But I think in terms of adaptation also, in the repartee between Tarkin and Anakin, they get some, they have a lot of dialogue, do the Jedi go far enough? Do they go too far? Do they not go far enough? I think that shows that the Jedi often don't necessarily want to adapt. But the question is, should they adapt? Because at least Tarkin's definition of adaptation will be do whatever it takes. And obviously the Jedi, their MO is they don't do whatever it takes. They have to be honorable and they have to be humane.
That's kind of what we're seeing a lot in the Bad Batch these days, is the Batch towing the line between what they want, what they think is necessary, and what they think is right. That's another that's in keeping with that third fortune cookie from Citadel Rescue that we'll witness later on. So we'll get back to that. So yeah, one of the first things that I thought about this arc, here we go, as I was mentioning earlier. One of the most recurring themes in the Clone Wars in general is, why do the Jedi fail? And we see now that the Jedi fail, one of the reasons is that they're focused on the wrong thing. They're not trying to rescue Master Piell. They're not trying to rescue him. They don't really seem to care much about him. Yeah. They care about that information.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that they let it become, even though the Jedi obviously do care about Piell, the fact that they let it become about the information, even to the extent that they do, definitely, you're right, it definitely shows something about the Jedi and how they're approaching this in terms of a war mission rather than trying to get one of their own back.
Yeah. There's that line that Sobeck says, which is an interesting line. The Jedi will be coming back for their imprisoned brother. But we see that that's really not why they're coming back. They're not coming back because Master Piell's in danger. They're coming back. It's from the Zilla Beast again. They're not protecting Malastare to protect Malastare. They're protecting Malastare, and they're protecting the Dugs to protect the fuel reserves.
Yeah. At one point, we even hear Evan Piell say, everyone here is prepared to die to protect the intel. So it's like, they're not just coming for him for the sake of coming for him, and he knows that. They all know it.
Yeah. So there's this story element that I've always really questioned, and that's this big thing in the arc, which is that Ahsoka was not supposed to come to the Citadel. Anakin thought that it was too dangerous, and that it was one of the most, we see it was one of the most dangerous missions in the entire war.
Yeah.
But Anakin does not let her come because he's too attached to Ahsoka, and he can't seem to let go at this point.
Yeah, we see that kind of.
But Ahsoka feels that Anakin is holding her back, and kind of tricks her way into getting into the mission. She doesn't trick her way into it. That's being a little harsh. She, from a certain point of views it.
Yeah. She, from a certain point of view, is her way into the mission for sure. I think it's for sure interesting. Very interesting conversation. I think they both make some good points, but ultimately, I think it shows, like you said, kind of how Anakin, like he's super overprotective of the people close from him because of his reactions to what's already happened with Shmi in both the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. But I think ultimately it leads him further down the dark path because he gets overprotective of his attachments and he ends up, doing terrible things to try and protect the people that he loves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking about the parallels now, actually, between Anakin and Maul later on. Because Maul does the exact opposite. He pushes everybody away. He's ripped from his mother's arms, as he says. His master, who was, like, the one true, like, father figure he kind of had, like, betrays him. And he spends his entire whole life chasing after the people who have wronged him, pushing them away instead of pulling them too close, which is kind of the inverse of what Anakin does. I was thinking about why Ahsoka, from a certain point of view, is her way onto there, and it led me to this, kind of revelation, I guess you could say.
Okay.
The Citadel is Ahsoka proving herself, as a Jedi to the galaxy and the audience, especially.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. I mean, I know you could say the entire series is that, but this arc in specific is that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the way she kind of, it seems like a turning point for her character, particularly the way that she basically straight up says to Anakin, it's not for you to decide how and when I risk my life, because he doesn't want her to risk her life to go on this mission. And that's one of the first times, I think that's the first time that we see that argument come up, and that's the first time that we see her say, I want to take control of my own life, kind of, and take control of my destiny. So I think you bring up a very good point, and that this is kind of it's a big moment for Ahsoka, I think.
Yeah, I'll get back to some of the weird symbolism in this, which I think is awesome. But yeah, here's another funny quote I love. The Citadel was created to hold Jedi if any of us lost our way. Is that ironic to you that a prison supposedly built for if Jedi lost their way could be a sign of the Jedi losing their way?
Yeah, I think there's kind of dramatic irony in that it literally, even though they're literally rescuing someone who is a Jedi who lost their way, Evan Piell lost his way in a literal sense because he ended up getting captured by the Separatists.
That's good too.
Yeah, so
that's good too.
There's I don't know. I think there's layers to that. I don't know.
There is. I'm also interested to see, like, because did the Jedi build it? If the Jedi built the Citadel, then what does that say about the Jedi at this point?
Yeah, exactly.
If they didn't build the Citadel, what does that say about the galaxy's perception of the Jedi at this point? If the Jedi didn't build the Citadel, that is a wildly prejudiced move right there.
Yeah.
It is a move, like, blatantly prejudiced. Yeah, and I find that interesting, because if the Jedi, and on the other hand, if the Jedi did build it, then it shows the brutal methods. Like, we see the brutal torture methods. I mean, obviously some of them are controlled by the Separatists, but, like, the brutal torture methods, and even, like, the brutal psychological effects of Lola Sayu and the Citadel. So what does that say that the Jedi were not just willing, but eager to hold their own members in such a place?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think there's a lot there. But I don't know. I that wasn't a part that I considered, but yeah, that's a really good point. In terms, moving on, I guess. Why would Vader want to test carbon freezing on Han if he himself, as Anakin, had went through it? Is there an explanation for that?
There is an explanation.
What is it?
This carbon facility is crude.
Oh, I forgot about that line. So
yeah,
it's about the facility.
That explains all of it.
Yeah.
He's not testing the carbon freezing. He's testing the facility.
Because I was thinking, something about the carbon freezing in this Clone Wars episode. I was like, this doesn't seem quite right. Something's wrong here. And then it took me a while to realize that, oh yeah, wait. Carbon freezing, testing Han, Luke, obviously. Yeah. But yeah.
It was because they were apparently short on time, and they just, like, they had the rebels at an okay carbon freezing facility. If they could choose anything, they'd choose a good carbon freezing facility, but they didn't have a good carbon freezing.
It wasn't 5 stars. It was like 3 stars.
Maybe. It was like a 2.5 star.
2.5 star
carbon.
So what is a second
galactic Yelp?
Second rate carbon freezing facility? Yeah. Let's talk about the villain. We want to talk about Osi Sobeck, because man, he is quite something. He's a little bit annoying, but I kind of love Osi Sobeck in these episodes. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not as big a fan. I feel about Osi Sobeck the way I think we have reverse feelings about Osi Sobeck and Riff Tamsin.
Yeah, you're probably right. We probably do.
I know I like Tamsin a lot more than you do, and I think you like Sobeck a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I think he's just the archetypal kind of middle management villain of Star Wars. He's not the top rank.
That's kind of why I don't like him.
He still has a lot of power. Yeah. He's definitely he's not like a loose cannon. He's entrenched in the institution.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, he's just so funny to me. He's got all the classic moves. He totally roasts his underlings. He says like, "Oh, mindless droids, what are you doing?" He has complete contempt for his underlings. And he just completely grovels to Count Dooku. He does the whole, "Oh, Count Dooku, what a surprise. I didn't know you were going to be calling me. Oh, my God." That's
the thing I've been coming to realize. Like, it happens with Mirage Chantel, it happens with Osi Sobeck, it happens with Riff Tamsin, it happens with, Sanjay Rash, it happens with...
Yeah.
Name a Separatist underling, and it happens.
It's just like, oh, they're getting super confident.
Separatist underling. I trust you have everything under control. Of course, Count Dooku. We have everything under control here.
And then Count Dooku's just like, "I know you're lying to me. Like that's every time. It's just like even General Grievous in the Malevolence arc. He's just like, "Count Dooku, I assure you, this ship won't be destroyed. It won't fall into Republic hands. I assure you." And then of course it goes and it gets destroyed. Literally gets launched into a moon at light speed.
Yeah. That's one of the things I'm actually not in love with the Clone Wars, and I love this show, but like every time it seems like a lot of villains go through these same arcs. Like, yeah,
I think Osi Sobeck is definitely.
I'm glad, like, the formula seems to have dropped by season 6. Because I don't remember anything like that in season 6 on.
It's a very common formula, to be sure.
It is.
Very common formula.
But, the episodes, most of the time, are pretty good, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Here's something interesting.
Yeah.
Here's a logistical question I have.
Okay.
Why doesn't the Republic do the reprogramming battle droid thing more often? So, the context here is that the Republic, in order to infiltrate the Citadel, reprograms 3 battle droids they supposedly probably captured on the scene of battle, and reprograms them to serve the Republic, and so they fake being just a regular battle droid shuttle, but really land all of the Jedi onto Lola Sayut, where the Citadel is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. You know me, I love B1s. I'm a B1 fanboy, so I absolutely loved seeing a battle droid step up and carry the day during the landing on Lola Sayut. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, because it seems like the battle droids were pretty darn effective in their role as, being able to sneak them on to the platform.
And you think they might be able to save a little bit of money doing that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you don't have to.
And I
don't know. Maybe
you don't have to deregulate the banks for 5 million more clone troopers. Maybe.
I know. Yeah, I know. Talk about deregulation. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things that if it got used in the story too many times, I think it just wouldn't be a good. It just wouldn't be a good plot point to use that too many times, and I think it could get pretty gimmicky. But I like the inclusion of it here. Felt pretty cool.
No, absolutely, I do.
Felt nice.
I wish we could. I want to see more good battle droids.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to see more good battle droids. One of the things I love about this arc, I'm going to tell you right now, the Citadel arc is my favorite gritty Star Wars.
Oh, do tell, yeah.
It is my favorite. Like, you can toss out your Rogue Ones, you can toss out your Revenge of the Sith. No. The Citadel, in my opinion, is the best gritty Star Wars.
The Citadel?
I mean, like, depends on if you consider, like, Siege of Mandalore gritty Star Wars, which I don't really, because... Yeah, actually, I wouldn't say Revenge of the Sith is gritty either. But in terms of, like, boots on the ground gritty stuff, the Citadel, I think, is the best. Because I wouldn't describe Revenge of the Sith or Siege as gritty. I would describe it as tragic, which is a little bit different.
No, yeah, definitely different. But I don't know. I think it was... It's kind of surprised me how dark and how intense it was at points.
It is.
I was not... I did not remember
after
that.
After they escape the prison with all of Piell's forces, a commando droid tells Sobeck, "They escaped, sir." And then Sobeck tells the captain of the squad, this is one of my favorite parts of this episode, "Captain, show this droid what happens when we use that word." And then the captain shoots the commando droid who says they escaped, which is both kind of funny and a little bit troubling, because there's that line where Dooku reprimands Grievous in the Malevolence arc about destroying that battle droid. You know, Grievous, these battle droids are expensive.
Yeah, totally.
Imagine how expensive a Citadel commando droid is.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that Osi Sobeck, he's a pure-blooded middle management villain. He does not.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to take out his problems on his underlings, and they pay the price in this episode and this arc. They pay a hefty toll for having the misfortune to be assigned to him.
Actually, I think I've been teasing this a little bit. Can I tell you about my grand metaphor for this arc? I love this. I just figured this out. So you know how I told you that this arc is where Ahsoka most proves herself? Yeah. You might even say, with the environment of Lola Sayut, that this is Ahsoka's trial by fire.
Oh, because the lava, nice. Yeah,
yeah.
Nice.
It was an interesting bit of symbolism that I noticed, that the place where I was seeing Ahsoka prove herself the most is the most hellish looking planet ever.
Yeah, ever.
I mean, like Mustafar, but ever. Because even Mustafar, we know this, on that Mustafar didn't used to be this way.
Yeah.
Because it was corrupted by the corruption of an instrument known as the Bright Star in the Star Wars VR experience, Vader Immortal. And in Vader Immortal, they corrupt the planet back, and we see a bit of the uncorrupted Mustafar in The Rise of Skywalker at the very beginning when Kylo Ren is killing all of those cultists on Mustafar. Little trivia right there. We do get a small introduction to Tarkin in this episode, and I just want to say that Steven Stanton has done so much to expand Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yes,
I mean,
Wilhuff
really Tarkin. He's not the Moff yet, but like, I think Tarkin is Steve Stanton's best role that he's ever done in animation. Especially in the Bad Batch now, and in Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, Tarkin's been in animation a lot now.
And it's all Steve Stanton doing his magic.
Yeah. I mean, he's good, yeah.
Yeah.
He really
I mean, like, it's not like, again, like, there's, my bias comes in with Twin Sons Kenobi, which is also Steve Stanton. Which is, like, for a guy who, like, only had to do Obi-Wan for an episode, he did not have to go that hard.
Yeah, he did not hold back. He really, he did well. He did very well.
Yeah. We are officially Steven Stantons.
Yes.
I'm sorry in advance. This podcast is now the hosts of this podcast are now Steven Stantons. Anyway, so...
We should just do a complete rebranding. Just make it a Steven Stanton fan podcast.
Yep. We already have the name too. Yeah. I also love Piell's first lines once they rescue him. Obi-Wan, what took you guys so long?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Evan Piell is badass, man.
Yeah, he's funny. I like him, man.
Of the I often joke that we get a Jedi and Arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do.
Of the Jedi and Arc Jedis, Jedi, he's like, I think, one of the best. And it makes it even more heartbreaking when he dies.
In Counterattack, the middle segment of our arc, we find the heroes escaping the prison. They do a lot of walking around, engaging the battle droids. They go all to and fro, trying to find a way off the planet, trying to get back to their shuttle. The shuttle is captured, or at least it's brought to the main platform. And the battle droids pretend to be captured, or they pretend to capture R2. That's this episode, right?
Yep.
Okay. And eventually, everyone gets up to the platform. And we think they're about to escape, but then the shuttle gets blown up, and Echo is killed, in quotes, of course, because he comes back, but he's injured. He's out of the battle. And on the tragic note, the episode ends. They're forced to withdraw, and they have to think of another way out.
The fortune cookie for this episode is anything that can go wrong will. It is literally what's known as Murphy's Law.
It's hard to argue with that assessment for this episode.
Yeah, one of my main complaints with fortune cookies in the past is that they say in 10 words what could be said in 4 or 5. And this is a straightforward attack fortune cookie that I really appreciate. Anything can go wrong is also like such a Star Wars thing, because like it seems like Star Wars is often raising a lot of the stakes. It's like, you think things can get bad? Nope.
They're about to get worse.
They're about to get worse.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's like the Star Wars MO.
That is the Star Wars MO. It's not Star Wars until things are going the worst they possibly can. I wrote in my notes. Yeah. Why don't you start us off on this episode? What do you got?
Yeah, I like this episode. it felt like the plot, it felt like it meandered a bit. It could have had I thought it could have had a little more focus, but overall, I really liked it. Still a good episode. Feel very bad for Osi Sobeck in this one. He starts he takes a lot of calls from Dooku, and obviously Dooku.
By the way, let me ask you something.
Not happy at all.
Let me ask you about something about that.
All right.
How does Dooku have so much time on his hands?
Yeah, what I mean, like, look, I get it's important, but come on, like, how many calls can Dooku really make? Like, it's like Dooku's just sitting there the whole time.
He's the head of state of, like, a splinter group.
Yeah.
He can't have that much time on his hands, can he?
Yeah. The Separatists, I mean, that's some splinter group, man. That's...
No, it's some splinter group, yeah.
They're like, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. I guess we should probably talk about some Tarkin stuff right now. One of the first things Tarkin says in this episode, which I love. I'm beginning to admire the design of this facility.
That's so indicative of what Tarkin is about. He just likes power. He loves fear, and fear and power, man.
It's an interesting idea I've heard thrown around in the Star Wars fan base that Tarkin has a turn to the dark side from the Clone Wars to Rebels, from the Clone Wars to the Bad Batch to Rebels to finally A New Hope. But I don't think that's accurate. I don't think Tarkin ever turns to the dark side. I think Tarkin has to conceal in the era of the Republic a lot of his corruption. But I don't think that corruption isn't... I don't think that means the corruption isn't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the corruption is absolutely there, and it's more of a matter of concealing it. He's playing the same Phantom Menace game that Palpatine is, in a way. Yeah. And what's even more interesting is Anakin's gradual friendship with Tarkin.
Yeah. I think that's point. It's a very good example of anything that can go wrong, Will. The fact that he just arbitrarily, kind of Tarkin shows up, and he starts talking with Tarkin, Of course it's Tarkin. And I think a little bit of Tarkin's philosophy obviously rubs off on Anakin, and I think in the long run that kind of pushes him ever so slightly even more towards the dark side.
Yeah, I think there is a sense that a lot of the Clone Wars I felt has had to redeem Anakin a little bit because of how unlikable some fans found him in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
But this was a great reminder that even though we're redeeming Anakin as a character, that doesn't mean we're redeeming him as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Anakin still is going to turn to the dark side in a few years.
Yeah, he still has his foibles.
Anakin is still this tragic hero that we have come to know and love. He is still, there is no other way this turns out. Anakin is going to turn to the dark side. He's going to lust for power. He's going to try to save Padme from death, only to end up killing her anyway.
Yeah. It's how it's gonna happen.
It's inevitable. You might say it is his destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. I also love the fact that there's, I don't know if you saw this, remember when Tarkin expresses concern to Rex about having this child lead them in battle?
Yep. And
when Rex describes Ahsoka's bravery, did you catch Tarkin rolling his eyes in the background?
I did, yeah, I know. He's so
sassy. I love that touch. Dude. It was great.
It's like, oh my god, dude, have a little respect, have some gratitude.
I know.
Yeah.
It's great. It's awesome.
But I think, to be fair, with Ahsoka not knowing to blow the wall, that does show the downsides. She wasn't briefed on the plan. Yeah, they have to blow through this wall. She wasn't briefed on the plan, but why wasn't she briefed on the plan? Maybe because she wasn't actually supposed to come along.
Yeah.
Obviously it's still a good thing that they came along. She becomes the most important part of the mission in a strange twist of fate, as we'll get to. soon enough in the third episode of this arc.
One of the interesting things that that Tarkin says to, I think it's either Anakin or Ahsoka, is he talks about the Jedi code preventing them from going far enough to achieve victory. The very reason why peacekeepers should not be leading a war. Now, he has a point that peacekeepers should not be leading a war, and we've been talking about the idea that peacekeepers leading a war is a problem, because those two philosophies do not mesh together.
Yeah, they really don't.
But we have, I think, not talked enough about how the reason that peacekeepers shouldn't be leading a war is not because they are not good enough at war. The reason why peacekeepers shouldn't be leading a war is that they should be doing what they're supposed to be doing, is keeping the peace.
Yeah,
and how
100%.
And how, peacekeepers, the Jedi failed at their role as peacekeepers, which means the war happened.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's interesting how the Jedi, I think a lot of them secretly and to themselves kind of admit, we're not supposed to be generals, we're not cut out for this, we don't want to do this. But then they rankle when Tarkin says it, because he says it not from a place of genuine concern, but from a place of contempt and prejudice against the Jedi.
Yeah, and I think that there's a part of there's a direction that Lucas gives to Hayden Christensen in a behind-the-scenes documentary about Anakin. He's talking about Anakin's psyche in Revenge of the Sith. And he's saying, I'm going to do my best Lucas here. There's this voice inside Anakin that is constantly at every single point saying, what am I doing? And then the other part of his brain is going, I'm doing this for Padme, I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for us, and all that. But there's always this small part of Anakin that is going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of the Jedi, is that, I'm doing this for the Republic, I'm doing this for peace and democracy. But I think there's parts of the Jedi, the very wise Jedi, the Yodas, the Obi-Wans. Eventually, it pretty much takes over Ahsoka, that goes, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think that just shows that kind of ties in, I think, to how the war had such a demoralizing effect on the Jedi,
Yeah.
It really took them down a notch. It really made them, obviously, it made them kind of lose their way, but I think part of that was the demoralization and the kind of feeling of hopelessness that Palpatine set in amongst the Jedi by forcing them to
and I think the war is a great background for him to do this, because the Jedi, by nature of everything, don't have the time to think, to really think to themselves, what am I doing?
Yeah.
They just don't have the time. They're caught
kind of busy.
in battles and skirmishes and planning sessions and all of that kind of stuff.
They don't get to do any of the normal Jedi, kind of meditation and self-reflection.
Younglings in the Jedi Path book, in that source book, in the in-universe source book, which is now Legends, but we're doing the it's not Legends, and it's not Legends until proven non-canon sort of thing.
Yeah, uncontested.
That Jedi younglings are supposed to meditate 5 times a day.
Wow.
The younglings.
Yeah.
Do you think any of these generals have time to meditate 5 times a day while they're fighting wars?
Of course not, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other things I was just looking at is, what I also love about this arc is, that seems like a third to a half of the Separatist Armada is just in the Citadel.
Yeah.
They're
just chilling there.
Staps, crab droids, commando droids, probe droids, Separatist mouse droids, B2 super battle droids. Any droid you can find in the series, or at least most any droid you can find in the series, probably there.
It's going to be there.
The one glaring exception I'm thinking of is the Aqua droids, which, why would you need to use them? And then they're also like
fireproof aqua droids
yeah.
for the lava.
Oh, there we go.
How about that? How about that? How do you like them apples, huh?
Citadel special edition with
Oh my gosh.
fireproof
Imagine.
lava droids. So, the Separatists lure the Republic troops and the Jedi into a trap. They blow up their shuttle. By the way, Star Wars trope. Blowing up the shuttle. Done. Disguising themselves in the enemy. Oh wait, that's actually done too! With the reprogrammed battle droids.
Yeah.
Vents! Done in the first episode. That's pretty good. You got 3 out of 3 there. There's another one that I'm forgetting, but who intercepts the explosion from that ship? Our friend CT-1409, Echo. Now, at the time, we thought Echo died on Lola Sayu. However, since then, it's been revealed that somehow Echo returned. Echo, we saw Echo in actually a quite Palpatine-esque contraption on the planet of Skakel Minor in the Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 2, called A Distant Echo. Echo is indeed found. It's interesting, because I was thinking, like, it kind of takes the emotional impact out of Echo's death, because we know that he's going to survive. You know what I mean? But then I know what you mean, yeah. But then I started looking at it a different way, which is interesting. Which is that Echo did die on Lola Sayu. The Echo we knew died on Lola Sayu.
To all his friends, he was dead.
No, and what I mean is, like, the Echo we see on Skakel Minor and then the Echo we see later on
different people.
Is not the same Echo that died on Lola Sayu.
That's fair.
A part of Echo died on Lola Sayu. I'm not saying that to try and excuse, like, them bringing back Echo to life. I just find it interesting that, you know, Echo, it's made very clear in that episode of the of Season 7 of the Clone Wars, in the Bad Batch arc, in Unfinished Business, which is that final episode, that Echo isn't the same since what the Separatists did to him.
Yeah, he's changed.
He's a changed man. Yeah. And
I mean, look.
What?
You'd be a changed man too if someone stuck you in a giant refrigerator and then tried to plug in like USB ports into like random places on your body.
Too bad he didn't have the energy of a dyad in the Force Delta.
Yeah, too bad. I mean, it almost makes
me
wonder.
You lose, Echo.
Do you think Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker used that technology that was being developed by the Echo experiment? You know, it kind of looked similar. You know, a little tangle of cables.
You know, I mean,
not such a crazy idea in my opinion.
Well, I will say that Beaumont says it's dark science cloning secret only the Sith knew. He never mentioned the Techno Union. Dark science cloning secrets only the Techno Union knew.
Look, I mean,
good music.
To be fair, the Techno Union was part of the Separatists. Separatists, obviously, controlled by the Sith. So you never know. You never know.
That's like saying that the Martez sisters were part of the Jedi, because the Martez sisters were helped by the Republic and the Jedi were part of the Republic.
What? But the Techno Union is part of the Separatists.
I know, I'm joking. I'm joking, mostly.
Oh, yo, man. Okay.
Mostly. Anyway.
Mostly, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I deserve it.
Okay. In Citadel Rescue, it is made clear to Jedi forces that Anakin, Ahsoka, Piell, Tarkin, and Obi-Wan and the rest of the forces are going to need a pickup, so they arrange for Republic forces to engage Separatist ones to create a diversion so that they can pick up the forces and the intel on the planet of Lola Sayu. Dooku gets really mad at Osi Sobeck, and so Sobeck goes to finish the job personally. This all comes to a head when he sends Anuba hounds after the after the Republic, and the Anuba hounds eventually ravage and kill Master Piell, who dies, but not before telling his half of the information to Ahsoka, Um, they get off of Lola Sayu safely. Ahsoka reveals her half of the information as Master Piell wanted. She gives her half of the information to the Jedi Council, and Tarkin delivers his half of the information directly to Chancellor Palpatine. And that's the arc right there. The fortune cookie is, without honor, victory is hollow.
Well, it's true.
We discussed this earlier on,
It's definitely the Jedi point of view, I'd say.
It is. But even though I'll say this, even though the point of the prequel trilogy is that the Jedi are flawed, they're still the good guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think it's unfair to say it's the Jedi point of view. I think, because I think all of them are the Jedi point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think the Jedi actually stick to that, whereas Tarkin says, I'll do whatever it takes.
And actually, I would not agree with you there. I think one of the problems with the Clone War is the Jedi are forced to stray away from that more often than not.
Yeah, but at least they try. They want to.
Yeah.
Tarkin doesn't want to. He makes that abundantly
They try, though I seem to remember a certain Jedi saying, and I'm not using this for cheesiness factor, I'm really saying, a certain Jedi Master I seem to remember saying, do or do not. There is no try. Seriously, I don't think it's enough for the Jedi to try to have honor. I think you have honor, or I think you don't. You know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah. Perhaps.
Yeah. So it's interesting to me. By the way, I'd like to point out to you the last part of my symbolism about Ahsoka's trial by fire. You know what a trial by fire can't be complete without?
A funeral?
Nope. A trial by fire cannot be complete without releasing the dogs of war. The literal dogs of war.
Yeah, the Anuba Hounds. Oh my gosh, the Anuba Hounds in this, so annoying.
They're so creepy.
Oh, I mean, they have the giant fang that's the size of a bicep, a bodybuilder's bicep, just sticking out the front of their lower jaw. No symmetry. Oh gosh. I mean, and the fact that they kill Evan Piell, that's just come on, no. Well, you're just trying to hurt us at this point. Come on, Clone Wars, you're just trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was genuinely. Evan Piell's death and his funeral is legitimately so sad. I feel like we didn't even get to know this character barely at all in the Clone Wars, and when he dies, it's just. It's so tragic. Emotional. It's tragic. You really get the sense of man, we came all this way. We've risked so many lives. We've already lost so many lives.
And we see the intelligence, not the intelligence, but the wisdom of Master Piell, because he knows Ahsoka wasn't part of this mission. You know what I mean?
He knows. He knows 100%.
But he doesn't care.
No, he just has that benevolent energy. He's one of those.
What matters? What matters to Master Piell is that Ahsoka is a Jedi who he knows he can trust with the information. Yes, that's what matters in the end. Yeah, it is. Ahsoka stares death in the face several times with Echo and Master Piell and all of those people dying around her. It's part of, again, her trial by fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she eventually also proves her worth not only by carrying the information, but also by killing Osi Sobeck at the end of the episode. Speaking of Sobeck, I'd like to talk about Sobeck as well, which I think is interesting. Why does Ahsoka kill Sobeck? Because Sobeck is holding up Tarkin. If I can't have the information, then no one can.
I mean, it seems kind of self-explanatory. I mean, Sobeck's the villain. He seems
but it's
like the spiteful type.
It's fascinating to me because he knows. Because Dooku tells him in those, like, trademarked villain calls, Dooku tells him how incredibly important this information is.
Yeah.
But Sobeck, instead of, Sobeck, I mean, this is obvious, but, like, Sobeck doesn't have loyalty.
No, yeah.
So
he also just doesn't. He never takes Dooku as seriously as he should.
But he chooses self-preservation over the cause.
Yeah, or like what he says at one point. Inform Count Dooku I am unreachable. Like a minute ago, you were just groveling to him on your last call. Come on, dude.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? Count Dooku loves.
What could possibly go wrong?
I know Count Dooku loves to get put on hold. He has so much humility,
Though he does have quite a bit of time on his hands, as we've seen.
Yeah, that's true. He does. Certainly. I mean, yeah. Wow. Man, this episode though, so good. The ending action sequence. Oh my gosh, it's top tier.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Although I kind of wish he had at least chucked Tarkin in the lava before he went out.
Then they wouldn't have both halves of the information.
I know, but like.
But then again, I will say this though, like, at the end of the day, that Palpatine would find a way to get both halves of the information, and then
but like no Tarkin. No coordinates, no hyperspace lane, no Battle of Coruscant, no kidnapping the Chancellor, Chancellor.
You think the Nexus
Count
route
Dooku dying.
You think the Nexus route is how they managed to?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure in canon, I think it is. I know in Legends, I know it's not. But in canon, I think it's a very good chance. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but the way I interpreted it, I thought they were like heavily point nudge. I thought they were heavily like nudge wink wink when they said it goes straight from the core Separatist world straight to Coruscant.
That's it. I actually quite like that idea. I'm not gonna lie.
Cool, yeah.
I like that idea. And I like that the idea of the whole futility of this arc, because that means like because Palpatine got both halves of the information. He then gave them information to the Separatist under his guise as Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
So this arc ultimately meant nothing.
As does almost everything in the Clone Wars.
It plays into Palpatine's 70 chess game.
And I think in terms of, if we're talking about the Jedi losing their way, I think, again, that shows the Jedi are in a very tough spot, because no matter what they do, they've already been boxed in. Like, Sidious has already just, like, completely messed them up too much to come back from.
I'd like to come to a quote that Palpatine tells the newly minted Darth Vader in the middle of Revenge of the Sith. When he's giving him orders to go to the Jedi Temple and wipe out the Jedi there. There's that very, very famous quote that he says, "Do what must be done, Lord Vader. Do not hesitate.
Yeah.
Show no mercy." This entire arc is a gigantic measure of how far the Jedi will go and how far the Republic will go to do what must be done.
Yeah, and Anakin's willing to go pretty far, as we can
As Palpatine tells him, don't hesitate, show no mercy. Go. That's basically Palpatine's admitting to Vader, go all in. Don't worry about the consequences. Do what you feel needs to be done to complete the mission. There's that, without honor, victory is hollow, the fortune cookie. There's that quote from Lair of Grievous at the end. In this war, a danger there is of losing who we are. How far are you willing to go to get what you want? That is, we see people like Osi Sobeck, like Wilhuff Tarkin. We'll see Tarkin order a squad led by Crosshair in the early missions of the Bad Batch. In the early episodes of the Bad Batch, we'll see Tarkin order a squad led by Crosshair to eliminate the Saw's camp on Onderon. We see Tarkin order the batch with Crosshair to do the same thing. With the batch, they decide to hesitate and to show mercy.
They ended up paying for that, unfortunately.
But they protect their morality. Crosshair does it the other time around, and he does it, and he does not hesitate. He shows no mercy. They wipe out that entire camp. They kill them all.
Yeah.
And Crosshair in that moment, I mean, he's already lost who he is. Literally, because that inhibitor chip is the only thing controlling him now.
Yeah, he literally doesn't really have free will.
Yeah.
As long as the inhibitor chip is working.
Yeah, it's a very Clone Wars-esque theme of push and pull of desires and morality.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's all I got. You want to do a quick little ranking of these 3 episodes?
Oh yeah, man, these were some good episodes.
These were
way better than I remembered. These were exciting through and through.
I think this is probably my most rewatched arc of season 3. I feel like I come back to these episodes the most. Even though Mortis is probably my favorite, I think I've watched the Citadel the most times.
What's your ranking?
I'm gonna go with at the top the Citadel, in the middle the Citadel Rescue, and at the bottom Counterattack.
Yeah, I think my favorite was Citadel Rescue, followed by Counterattack, and then Citadel at the bottom. But they were all
fantastic.
I thought they were all tremendous, very, very good episodes. Definitely one of my very favorites from season 3.
Absolutely. I think, again, other than Mortis, I think these are probably my favorites of season 3. Let's get to everybody's favorite part of Star Wars in a Galaxy.
What you've brought me today is worth 1/4 portion.
We got everybody's favorite 1/4 portion.
6 degrees of Star Wars.
So
we have a special treat. In honor of us recording in person again, we are doing an extra 6 degrees.
We got bonus
3.
round.
Yeah, we have 3 each today.
Eli, could you please link in 6 steps or less for me L337 and TC14?
Okay. The 2 most famous female droids probably in Star Wars. TC14, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo, L337.
Ooh. Alright.
Or, wait, no. Actually, yeah, that's the best I can do. Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
What you got?
In honor of a recent Bad Batch episode, we'll do Rafa Martez.
Ooh.
And Snap Wexley.
Rafa Martez and Snap Wexley. Rafa, Ahsoka.
I'd go Ahsoka as well, yeah.
Leia. Wait, did Ahsoka ever meet Leia in
We can't.
Dang it!
We can't do that.
Man, I was thinking of Rebels, but no, okay.
Yeah.
Rafa, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan.
I figured out one, but
Obi-Wan. Han Solo. Leia. Poe. Snap.
you can remove Poe in there because
Leia
Leia
met
Snap. But I
okay.
got a slightly easier one, but it's
Okay.
from it involves a comic, but I don't think you'll mind.
Yeah.
Rafa, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Luke, Shara Bay, who is the... That doesn't work. Shara Bay is not the mother of Snap Wexley. Shara Bay is the mother of Poe Dameron.
Ooh.
Dang it. Wait, no. Rafa, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Han, Wedge, snap Wexley. That works.
Mm-hmm.
Because Snap's mom, Nora, and Wedge date. So Wedge knows Snap because he's kind of like his stepdad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
okay, that works.
Okay. For you, we have.
Way harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Pardon?
That was way harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I know, me too. I was like, oh, this is easy. Oh no, it's not. Omega.
Omega.
And Kazuda Ziono.
Oh, the two lesser.
The two cocky youngins of the TV shows.
Omega. I have to say that every single time. Omega. We'll go with. Shoot, this is gonna be. This is along the lines of Rafa and Snap.
Yeah, this is a hard one actually.
Omega. Wait, I just thought of something. Omega, Hunter, Anakin, Leia, Kaz.
Did Anakin ever consciously meet Leia though?
Okay, sure.
Oh,
Anakin.
I guess Vader. Yeah.
I mean,
okay,
but
yeah,
like
yeah, it
Vader,
counts, it
but like,
counts.
if you count it, if Anakin, but I could also just go Anakin, Padme,
Yeah.
Leia, Kaz.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for me now?
Look how old you become. Something far worse has happened to you.
That is the best. I swear that's the best line. When I heard that for the first time in the theaters, that scene was just jaw dropping for me. I love
Lor Santeca and Dryden Voss.
Lor Santeca. And
If you fail.
Dryden
If you
Voss.
fail, we'll
Okay.
be all out of options.
Okay, I got this. Lor Santeca, Kylo Ren, Han Solo, Dryden Voss. Let me guess. You didn't think of that. You thought of something more complicated when you were.
No, I didn't
up?
actually think of it. So I didn't think any of these through. So anyway,
Yeah,
but good job. Go ahead with your third one for me.
All right, it's interesting. The two Mandalorian matriarchs. Please connect Ursa Wren and the Armorer.
Oh, I thought you were gonna with Bo-Katan.
No, I wasn't.
Ursa.
That would have been a good one though. That would be too easy.
Does Ursa ever meet Bo-Katan? Because then this could be really easy.
I don't think we ever see Ursa
Dang
meet
it.
Bo-Katan.
Ursa.
I imagine that they would, given that they're basically both aristocrats. But
I could do this. I want to find an easier way, but I could go Ursa, Ezra, Ahsoka, Din, Armor.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good way.
Yeah.
Can't get much simpler than that.
You can't. I'm trying to think if you could do anything with Cara Dune or something like that. I don't think you can. No, you can't. I think that's the simplest way.
I think that's it.
This is an interesting one. We get to one of my favorite villains of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Mr. Riff Tamson.
Oh, Sharkman. All right.
Sharkman.
I like
and,
it.
Mr. Cassio Tag.
Cassio Tag. Is that General Tag?
It is General Tag.
General Tag.
From the conference room scene.
Okay, the conference room scene. Okay.
If it helps you at all.
Riff Tamson, Cassio Tag.
If it helps you at all, I can look up information on this if you need to. Tag is revealed to have survived the Battle of Yavin and goes on to serve the Empire for another year before dying at the Force choke hands of Darth Vader.
Wait, he's on board the Death Star and he survives.
He is not on board the Death Star. He leaves.
Okay.
He's the one Imperial in the room who
He's the one who's kind of like, hey, we should pump the brakes.
With the rebels. And he leaves, but the arrogant Tarkin doesn't. So yeah. And in the comics, Palpatine was like, hey Vader, you really screwed up with this whole Death Star thing. And Vader's like, me? It wasn't my fault, it's Tarkin's fault. And Palpatine's like, okay, great, I'm gonna punish Tarkin now. Oh wait, Tarkin died. So who is left? You, I'm gonna punish you. And he's like, seriously? And it's like, yeah. Tag over here. Tag was smart. Tag left. so I'm gonna promote him over you. And Vader didn't like that. So eventually, after he got too fed up with it, he just executed Tag via Force choke.
Oh wow, savage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay. So it's Tag. I always thought it was Taggy, but Tag
Nope,
makes more
Tag.
sense. So it's Tag and
Tamsin.
Riff Tamsin. Okay. Tag. Okay.
Oh. No. Uh-oh.
Do you know if Leia... Wait. Do you know if Padme ever met Tarkin?
Yes, but I have an easier way. I just figured that in my head. Dang it.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna know your way. Okay. Riff Tamsin. Did Riff ever properly meet Jar Jar?
Don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Riff Tamsin. Akbar. No, Akbar never really.
There's a
Riff Tamsin. Padme.
Go for another main character. That's my advice.
I thought I'm not allowed. Am I allowed to use the Skywalker Vader bridge?
You're not, but you might be allowed to use another main character.
Oh, jeez, I feel like I'm overlooking something. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wait.
exactly what's
Okay.
happening.
Riff Tamsin.
Not Anakin, but maybe
Padme.
not Pat.
Palpatine. Tag.
I mean, that could work, but I was just.
Can
I tell you the way I figured it out?
What were you thinking?
Riff Tamsin, Ahsoka Tano, Darth Vader, Tag.
Oh, right. Oh, nice.
Because we can take that encounter on Malachor.
Yeah, the encounter on Malachor just like changes everything. I feel like this game is just gonna become easier and easier every time there's a new piece of Star Wars content.
Especially Bad Batch is making this surprisingly easy because it's connecting.
So many cameos.
Because it's connecting with like everybody. Like it's already pretty easy because of Cut and because of. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I'm like, oh wait, when Rex premieres in the Bad Batch, it's gonna get so much easier. But then I realized Rex has already met the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
It's already exactly that easy. Yeah. What this is showing everyone is that the Star Wars galaxy is so incredibly interconnected. I hesitate to use I've heard this phrase going around. I've heard the idea that the galaxy feels small.
I agree. I kind of agree. At least in terms of the characters, who just constantly seem to be out of the trillions and out of the quadrillions of sentient beings in the galaxy, these characters constantly bump into one another.
I see where that argument's coming from. I don't agree that it says the galaxy is small. I think that that's saying that the galaxy works, I guess you could say, like in mysterious ways, and that like
the galaxy definitely works in mysterious ways.
And I think that like people who are powerful enough eventually meet other people who are powerful enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what
people
you mean.
Who are important enough eventually meet people who are important enough. And yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Next week is going to be our last episodic episode of season 6 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Did I get that right? Yeah, season 6. Why did I think otherwise? Anyway, next week is going to be the last episodic episode of season 6 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. We are going to be looking at the final arc of season 3 of the Clone Wars, and that is going to be what I call the Trandosha arc. The 2 episodes of Padawan Lost and Wookiee Hunt. Until then, please check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor and Google Podcasts and Radio Public. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we will be there. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Star Wars in a Galaxy is the name of our channel. Follow us on Twitter at InAGalaxyPod, Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. Please Email us at slbinagalaxy@gmail.com. Send us your hot takes and your questions and your 6 degrees of Star Wars. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. 5-star rating and review, please. It really does help our visibility. And until next time, may the Force be with you. Always.